I've got a thing or two to say about creativity. When I was a kid, I was an artist. I loved to draw. I didn't know much about what I was going to do or be when I grew up, but I did know that I enjoyed art. That's about as far as it went. And everybody told me how great I was, even though I really wasn't that great. They were just being nice. But I appreciated the compliments and the kudos, and I gained this reputation for being a creative person. Oh, you're very creative. You know, colors, texture, paint, whatever I was using, the medium. It was all just an expression of my creativity. So I was branded as this creative person. And then when someone needed something creative, they would always, well, go talk to him. He's got good ideas, or he can figure it out. And that's all great. I enjoyed that. But what I didn't enjoy was when I was interacting with some people who downplayed themselves as being a non-creative person. In my world, in the way that I perceive the world, there is no such thing as a non-creative person. Everybody is creative. I think that creativity is an innate human characteristic that we're all born with. It's just some people foster it. It's like a muscle. Like, you can't say, I don't have a muscle. You might say, I don't have a big muscle. My arms are kind of wimpy or scrawny or whatever. That's fine, but you have a muscle. Otherwise, your arm doesn't move. It may not be the best muscle, but there's one there. You're not just a bone hanging off your shoulder. It's not like that. Okay, so creativity is the same way. We may exercise our creativity and grow strong in our ability to create solutions and problem solve and come up with ideas, be inventors, be inventive, and which, by the way, problem solving, I think, is the number one most valuable skill in business. I tell this to young people all the time. If you want to get good at something, if you have to pick one thing, there's tons of obvious things. You got to be sharp. You got to be on time. You got to be energetic. You got to pursue your passion. There's a lot of things. But if you have to pick one, be a problem solver. Everything in business is about problems, and when you solve problems, you move your industry forward. You move commerce forward, and you can solve when you can solve. And so, anyways, the world always needs problem solvers. Every business idea out there is just a solution to a problem that existed before they started in business, and after, by the way. But anyways, so be a problem solver. I was branded that way, and I hate when people say, oh, I'm not creative. I don't get creative this, creative that. So my thoughts on creativity. Well, listen, first of all, just a couple of principles that you got to know. That's the first one. You're not uncreative. There's no such thing. You are a creative being. I am a creative being. Everyone in the world here is a creative being. We're just expressing it differently. I think we have different propensities. I think we have I'm more creative in some areas than other people are, by natural selection, I guess. We're all gifted in different ways. We're born with gifts in different areas, but nobody is void of any of them. Even the poorest among us have so much to offer if you get to know the person. And creativity is exactly that. You just have to discover what you're naturally good at, what you're naturally gifted at, and you'll be a lot more creative in that area than a lot of other people, even successful people. You look at some of the most successful people, they hire other people to do things for them because they're not good at it. Well, those people are good at it because they're naturally gifted to solve problems in that area. That's what creativity is. Creativity isn't just art. You pick up a paintbrush and you can paint, therefore you're creative. Or an inventor that creates products, Thomas Edison, for example. Yeah, we have this kind of stigma about what creativity is. And it doesn't have to do with just inventing or just art. Creativity can happen in the way that you do your taxes. That came out wrong. That's actually kind of funny. But creativity can be in the legal profession. Creativity could be an otherwise very boring or seemingly boring industry, a very left-brained technical bookkeepers can be creative, or administrators can be creative. You can be a creative in anything that you do, as long as you're improving your systems, you're solving problems. There's problems everywhere. Whatever industry you're in, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be with art. You can you can solve problems, and you can be creative in that industry. That's what creativity is. Number 2, though, this was important. Creativity, or creating things, is nothing more than combining 2 existing elements. Technically, as humans, we can't create anything. We are not creators by the literal sense of the word. We create by combining. That's all we do. So you think of any product in existence, all it is a combination of 2 or more existing elements. All the way back to the very first time that product was invented, back to the wheel, when it was first carved out of a round rock. Well, the caveman didn't create the rock. He found a rock, made it round, and said, that's a wheel. So everything around us is made of elements that already existed before we created it. And we call it creative. And there's a little bit of creative license in the way that we refer to each other as creators. But know that, because here's why that's important. Because being a creator can be intimidating if you think about it. But if you simplify it down to just, you know what? As humans, our ability to create is limited. Because we're not magic, we can't create things out of thin air. Our ability to create is limited to nothing more than combining elements. Then we become kind of scientists, if you will. And we call it creative and creators, and that's fine. But just know that, because it's less intimidating that way. It's easier to think of being creative when you have multiple elements and all you're doing is looking for a new way to put those elements together. You know, I'm going to take this long skinny thing and I'm going to take this short round thing. I'm going to figure out a really interesting way of putting them together, and bingo, we have a new product. It's how product development happens all the time. I do a lot of inventing on the side, and I love it. It's my, one of my creative outlets, and all I'm doing is combining a little piece of this and a little piece of that. They're all ideas or elements that are already in existence, and all I'm doing is saying, hey, what if I took these 2 things and made one item out of them? Or what if I took this function from item A and add it to item B, and now we morph item B into a new product? That's what product development is. That's all it is. You are creative. You just got to exercise the muscle a little more if you don't think you are, because you are. Everyone is. So it bugs me when people say that they're not, because they are. So anyways, just a few thoughts on creativity. Some things that are very near and dear to my heart. I want you to change how you think about it, because creativity is such an important part of our world because of automation. This might be another topic for another time, but shoot, everything's going automated. Everything's being done by machines, robotics. You see what's being done with kiosks and automated this and that. Used to be you'd go in and rent a movie from a person, you'd handshake, you'd walk out, a day later you'd take it back, or you get slapped with a late fee. You don't have to do anything. Everything's online, everything's a machine. You push buttons, the movie spits out, or your soda comes out. Everything is slowly changing over to automation. It's killing the right brain. And what that means is, if you're a creative person, or if you can exercise that right brain and consider yourself a creative person and be a creative person, you can have a competitive advantage in any industry, in any marketplace. Because one thing that computers will never do, and I believe this, I truly believe this, is be creative. Humans, I think, own that. Animals don't even own that. Well, maybe monkeys and maybe some types of animals are more creative than others. I'm not sure. But I think we kind of have the market on creativity here on Earth. And machines will never get there. Robots will do things, will solve functions and solve problems, and they'll perform tasks. Very literal, very left brain. If you tell them what to do, they'll do it, and they'll do it 24 hours a day, and they'll do it flawlessly, perfectly. And there's place for that. I'm not saying it's bad, But what I'm saying is, be aware of the competitive opportunity that you have because you are a creative being. Exercise that right brain because it is so important. And don't ever catch yourself saying that you're not creative.